I am excited to introduce our speaker, Jessi, today. Jessi is a return speaker from Ensign Beverage out in Hastings, maker of Kombucha. I hope I pronounced that right.
Good.
And I'm very pleased that she could join us today. And Jessi, I'm going to turn it over to you so that we can hear your message. Thank you so much for being here today.
Great. Thank you, Steve, for having me again. Steve and I were talking before a lot of you joined in, and the last time I spoke to this group in person was May of 19. So I've been sitting here writing up a few of the things that have happened since May of 19, and I've got a really long list. It's been really fun growing our business over the last year. Fun and challenging, I guess, both at the same time. My name is Jessi. I think we mentioned that. I'm in Hastings, Nebraska. So we're downtown Hastings. My husband and I started a brewery downtown Hastings in 2015. We started the parent company actually in 2012, and then the First Street Brewing Company, which produces our beer, we launched in 2015. From there, pretty soon, shortly after that, it was very obvious to us that we wanted to try to diversify our line of business, not only into just the beer world, but also into the non-alcoholic world too. And I have had a long history with kombucha brewing. And so we decided that kombucha might be a good way to go about that. We could see on the East Coast and the West Coast when we would travel that other breweries were doing this and like using their talents of their brewers and also just their space to double down. And so we kind of dusted off some old recipes of mine and went out there and gave it a shot. We started serving, I think, the kombucha in our tap room in about early 17. And then didn't really put it out into the market outside of our tap room in downtown Hastings until 18. Now, if you're not familiar with what kombucha is, I'll give you a short little history of that. Kombucha is a fermented tea. So it's a slightly fermented tea. It's made with, it's very basic ingredients. We start with an organic loose leaf tea, black or green, and then we add sugar, and then we brew that and we ferment that, and that creates we put a culture on that called a SCOBY, which is a culture of a different yeast and bacteria strains. We put a culture on that, and then over time that produces the beverage kombucha. I mentioned sugars. While there is some of the sugar in the tea that we start with, overall, once the fermentation happens and the bacteria and the yeast do their job, there's very little sugar left in the beverage. So it's one of our goals of Ensign Beverage is to have a very low sugar beverage. If you're sitting at your computer right now and you can do like a double screen, you can just go to our website, ensignbeverage.com, and it might be a good thing for you to look at. I'm not going to be able to split any screens or show you any screens off of my phone right now, so that might be giving you something to look at while I'm talking about all of this too. So kombucha is that fermented beverage. We take it from the fermentation tanks and then we do some carbonation, both naturally, and then we actually force carbonate a little bit too, because we're putting it into kegs and now cans to sell to our partners across the state of Nebraska. So as far as flavorings go, we do use some natural flavors. Like we flavor a lot with like hops, which are used in beer. I'm sure many of you are familiar with those. How can do a lot in flavoring, just because there's all these different great hops out there that very few people know. That people think hops and they think very bitter, but hops can give something a strawberry flavor, a melon flavor, a lemon flavor, and then we flavor also with other natural things like lavender and lemon. So we also have our stuff in cans. I want to touch a little bit about like where we started when we got our product out into the market. It was just in kegs. A lot of coffee shops some restaurants, they have draft systems. So that was a very easy way for us to enter into the market. And they would get those like 6-barrel kegs, the ones that you're used to seeing like at restaurants and stores, and they'd be able to pour right off their draft systems. But once COVID hit, as we all know, restaurants and even coffee shops and when everything shut down, we lost 100% of our customers outside of our tap room, which people kept coming and getting refills, which was nice. Outside of our tap room, we lost 100% of our customers. So we knew right away that we had to pivot. And we were working on this anyway. We had already been working on some designs for can labels, and we knew we had a canning line, and we were doing some beer canning at the time, but we knew that we needed a little bit more equipment, so we had to get some dollars together. While we share the same space at the brewery, we don't share any of the same equipment. So all the fermentation tanks, all the hoses, all of the pumps, they're all separate. The only thing we really share is the floor space, the drain space, we say. So we knew we had to get going on that. And then it was in March, by the end of March. Oh, and I do want to mention, during all this trying to figure out what was happening, I actually had COVID. I got sick, very sick, after speaking at a Nebraska tourism conference at the end of February. And so in this month of chaos, I was very ill at that time and still trying to figure out how to get my business transitioned and flipped so that we could add customers and keep customers. It was a challenge. And so we did, and we got it in cans. We started with 3. We launched 3 different cans. It's the wild berry, which is a strawberry, a hopped up green, which is that dry hopped kombucha that has a little bit more beer-like flavor, but again, non-alcoholic. And then a peach apricot, which has been always just a really great seller for us. So we got those launched into cans, and then immediately started getting them back into stores. Stores that were doing a lot of curbside delivery type stuff. But then we started getting into grocery stores. So like talking with Russ's Market, they were, of course, Open Harvest in Lincoln has always been a great partner of ours. And so they took them on right away because they weren't doing the refillable draft kombucha anymore. So they brought on the cans right away. And then we were just able to talk to different restaurants and bars and grocery stores and launch those cans with them. The farmers market here in Hastings was a great outlet for our cans this last summer. We decided not to do any of the outside of town farmers markets just because when we had to sign up for them, there was a little bit of still uncertainty of how everything would go down. So we decided that it would be best just to stay here in Hastings and stay local with them. Which I didn't really mind not getting up at 5 in the morning and having to drive to Lincoln. That was actually a bonus. But yeah, it's been an interesting ride with COVID. But we're definitely seeing more sales now than we were in 2019 with our kombucha and beer. And so that's just kind of a fun thing to have. I know, I think it was somebody that Jody, maybe you asked if our sales had went up, and that is actually what we found. The cans are a very easy way for people to pick it up in and take it with them, and so it was a convenience thing. So that was nice. I don't have Steve, when I spoke at the on-site premise of last year, you gave me a really nice SCC mug, and I keep that really nice SCC mug down at the brewery, and I use it a lot down there. But I went to go get a mug this morning, and I realized I didn't have it here, and I didn't have enough time to go get it. So I have my Nebraska, honestly, it's not for everyone mug. So I'm going to pour, I don't have coffee, but I hope you all have something to drink. I'm going to pour a little bit of our latest kombucha, which is the ginger fruit in our can in there, and drink a little bit of that while I talk. We did launch with 3 different varieties of kombucha. We felt comfortable doing that, and now this is our 4th. And this is kind of a fun thing too. Our cans, the main label will look like this, and you can see a lot of these on our website right now. But as we launch new flavors and try fun little things in our tap room, which is really kind of a fun thing that we can do, we have this generic can that we can just go write what it is and then sell it for a couple weeks or a couple months just in our tap room to see if the actual interest in that flavor is there. And it really does work nice. So that's a ginger that I'm using, which we could all use a little ginger for our good health right now. And that is one of the things about kombucha that I think is a benefit of drinking it, especially right now in the winter months. It does have that live culture in it. So the culture is similar to what you would find in yogurt. So keeping that gut health in check with this type of beverage can be very beneficial. And so when you're looking for something, I always find that kombucha is a really nice alternative when you're looking for something other than soda or other than juice. Maybe at that 2 o'clock hour in the afternoon when you're having the lull and you don't want to go back to coffee because that might be just over the top, or you don't want to go to tea. Kombucha is a really nice alternative at that time. So I think most of you are probably in the Lincoln area. I have a feeling that's where I'm talking to most of you from. And so we're really excited to tell you that Hy-Vee picked it up a couple weeks ago. So the Hy-Vee stores, you'll start seeing it in a few of those. I think it's in 3 right now. And then of course we're working on them more. And then we have some conversations for the Russ's markets going on right now as well. So grocery stores like that are starting to pick it up a little bit more. And then by mid-November, we've been working hard on this. Things take time. Good things take time. And I know that, and I've experienced that with different businesses that I've done. But we've been talking with Whole Foods for over a year now. And when I first started talking to them, the Nebraska stores were based underneath the Chicago umbrella. And then about, I think it was maybe January 1st, they switched underneath to the Denver umbrella. So all of now Denver Rocky Mountain is in charge of the Lincoln and Omaha stores. So, pretty much all my work that I had done already for all that time, talking with those managers, and they were super close to getting ready to bring it in. And then they were like, oh, you know what, by the way, we're moving all these stores over there, so you're going to have to work with who's over there. And I'm like, oh, great. So, but it was really nice. Somebody must have talked in that group because they actually reached out to us. And we found out a couple weeks ago that they got approved through grocery. And so they'll bring it on at Whole Foods in both Lincoln and Omaha. And I hope to have cans there before Thanksgiving. That's my goal, which is right around the corner. That doesn't seem possible. I have no idea how that's happening so fast. But even through COVID, we were so busy, virtual things like this. It really didn't take us much to flip the switch and to continue talks and meetings. We've done a virtual where we belong to a group called KBI, which is Kombucha Brewers International. And it's a fantastic resource for kombucha brewers of all sizes. We have very large kombucha companies, the ones that you might be more familiar with on the stores, the GTs and the very large ones. And then we have very small ones, and we have people in the middle. And it's a very great organization, guild for support. And that we had a virtual kombucha conference. Typically we go out to California in April, and we're all out there together. But this year, of course, because of COVID, that was canceled. So they ended up putting something together, and we were able to join in September for 2 full days of conference online. And it was actually really great. I was worried about how that would go, just because a conference online, are we really going to be able to have the interactions and that type of stuff? But it worked out okay. And there are still conversations going on right now from that conference. So I think that's what the most important part is about making those connections and continuing the conversations. So we were able to work with them. And then another interesting thing that I was able to do with KBI was do a hill walk, a virtual Capitol walk, hill walk. Typically they go out there. There's some legislation that we're trying to get passed, the Kombucha Act. And they asked if anybody would be willing to talk to their senators, and specifically they asked about Nebraska, and we were able to set up meetings with both Fisher's office and Smith's office, Senator there, and a representative. Adrian's a representative, correct? Yeah. And so it was really cool because actually Adrian actually jumped on the call with us, which was, I think, a little bit unusual. He's been in Hastings many times. He comes down here a lot, and he's been a big supporter of small business, I think. So it was a good thing to be able to do that during COVID too, something unexpected. We've been busy. We do all of our own distribution right now for the kombucha. Last week we had our first conversation with a larger scale distributor, and we'll see where that goes. But for right now, we do all of our own distribution, which means we make it here and we drive it to each one of the stores. So we've purchased a little delivery vehicle, which is super cute. And drive it around Lincoln and Omaha, and deliver our kombucha. We don't travel much other than to Lincoln and Omaha, Grand Island and Kearney, and Hastings. I think those are the 5 towns that I've been in the last 6 months. McCook too. We did drive out to McCook for a delivery, but we do just a lot of deliveries. And that is even strange in a COVID world, right? Because you're just so masked up and you're just trying to be careful about how you're interacting with a lot of their staff. And so there's not as much time, I don't feel like, to sit down and really talk with the managers of the stores and that kind of thing. So that's been a little tough too. But just making do with what we have. I was glad to see somebody on here from PTAC, where we're working with, we've done a couple classes over the last few weeks, maybe the last month. We've been working with Chuck out here in Kearney, and been looking at some government contracting for a couple different entities in the state, which we're really excited to get in front of. And so just kind of working all of those things out. It seems like we always have a lot of irons in the fire, but it's part of being an entrepreneur, right? You just got to keep a lot of things going at once. And then it seems like when you get one thing wrapped up, another thing pops up. So last week I started mentoring a student at UNO. I just had gotten done mentoring a student through CCC, but just one more thing to do. I mentioned that in Lincoln, that the kombucha was at some of the Hy-Vees and some different stores, but it's at SCC. So it's in, it's really cool. It's in the culinary department there. And so since we've even brought them samples, a year ago when we didn't even have it in cans, they were interested in it. But then, of course, when we got it in cans, that was something that they were interested in, putting that local item on the menu. And so we're working with all of the great people there at that culinary program. And we're excited. And if things go like they're scheduled, they've been doing some small dinners out there. And on December 4th, it's a Friday, we will have a beer and kombucha dinner with them. So if you want to put that on your menu and kind of watch some social media for that, maybe I'll see if I could get you the link once it kind of solidifies a little bit more. I think everybody's just a little bit nervous about planning stuff too far out, but I think we're real close to getting that on the calendar and confirming it, just because they feel like they can do a safe dinner there. But we'll see where the numbers are as we get closer too. So yeah, that'll be kind of a fun thing to do in December. Events definitely took a big dive over the summer. We're in the typical summer, we have 6 to 7 events a month, and we didn't have hardly anything. Like I'm talking events like tastings where we could get our product out in there and let people taste them, and we didn't have any of that going on. So that was a little, it was nice actually, because we got to stay home and do things around our community and we didn't have to travel, but it really did affect, I think, just the branding and just being able to get the word out about some of the product. I mean, I think that now that I had this product in cans, if I would have been able to be out there at these events and sampling it, whole different ball game at that point. But that's okay. We've got more time coming up. So I would just encourage you to go to the website, go pick up a can of kombucha. Ensign Beverage is what you're looking for. That's the kombucha can right there. Just a quick thing on the name. Ensign is my maiden name, and it means standard. So it's a standard in the industry of kombucha. We do a little bit of, we have a social media thing tied to it too. We work really closely with the Groundwater Foundation. They're based out of Lincoln. We do a donation quarterly to them. And just to help support water education. So our little initiative is called Cha Cha Cha, and I hope to be able to promote that more as we move forward, but it just stands for water conservation, water health, and water access. The election was interesting. This was the first year that I have ever been on a ballot. So I was on a ballot for on our local ballot, which was kind of fun to see your name on there. I ran for the Natural Resource District Board of Directors, and I was elected. So I won that, which is cool. It's going to be a fun journey. Our district runs from just north of Hastings all the way down to Fairbury, Nebraska. So it's kind of a really long stretch in there, and water systems. And I think there's 6 natural resource district recreation sites that they manage through that. And then of course, tens of thousands of acreage of land. So it's going to be interesting to learn more about that. And I just felt like that was something that I could do and continue to learn about water and continue to help educate as I learned things. And so I feel like that was just another step into our Cha 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 initiative. So, and also another reason I did it is there's never been a female on this board. And so I looked at that, and there isn't now. They've had one female back in the 80s that they think that maybe had been there for a short period of time, maybe that took over somebody's position, but they couldn't even give me a name of the person. But anyway, I saw that and I was like, what is happening? Like, there are female farmers out there. Where are they at? So, but I decided to do it, and here we are. So that was kind of fun to see my name on the ballot, but what a weird election to have that happen. Like, to have that be part of the 2020 election. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question, 2 suggestions. Are you using local hops? Because I know some of the farmers are starting to grow hops here in Nebraska. Otherwise, they were buying them from, I think, Minnesota, if I remember right.
Oregon. It's a really big hop area for us. But yeah, we use, in our beer, we use maybe 45% of our hops come from locally Nebraska grown hops. And then actually it really works well in the kombucha to use locally grown hops. Because we can use the whole flower to infuse. So if you think of the hop cone, in beer, you have to have those hops pelletized to use them to get any kind of utilization percentage out of using them. So they have to go through the processing of putting them into a pellet. Well, with kombucha, if I put them in with the tea, I can still pull some flavor out of them. And yeah, so Nebraska grown hops is a really good thing. And also one of the switches that we made in late 19 was to start using Nebraska grown beet sugar, beets, instead of cane sugar, because we were always using cane sugar before. But then I started doing some research on it, and I found out that cane sugar, actually, when it's processed, if you're not buying organic, when it's processed, it's actually processed with a bone char. So it's filtered through bone char to help whiten it. And cane sugar doesn't have, or beet sugar, excuse me, does not have to have that process. So by using the Nebraska grown beet sugar, we're able to claim that it's vegan, whereas we wouldn't be able to do that if we were just using regular cane sugar, unless again we were buying organic. So I thought that and just the general fact that the footprint is so much shorter, right? The stuff's being grown and processed right out in Gearing or Scotts Bluff. I've still not gotten a meeting with that group, and I would love to be able to connect with some of the people out there and go out and tour it and just kind of connect our two stories, because I think that there's something really cool about that our beverage is really truly a Nebraska beverage. We're using Nebraska water, we're using Nebraska sugar. A lot of times we're using herbs and spices and fruits that are grown in Nebraska, like aronia, hops and those types of things. So outside of the tea, which I really don't know why nobody's really looked into that either. Like I kind of think about this sometimes. I'm like, why has nobody tried to start growing some varieties of like green and black tea? Because I think it actually could work. Anyway, like, but it, yeah, so we're really truly a Nebraska product, and which is kind of a fun thing.
Have
So.
you contacted like Fairway Meat Market or Rock and Joe's? Because I know that
I was just going to
Fairway,
say Rock and Joe's.
yeah, they have the Fairway carries some more exotic stuff, like they're carrying the Glacier Till ciders and stuff.
Mhm.
And then Rock and Joe carries local stuff too. So have you checked those two?
Yeah, I will do that. I know that Fairway, I haven't checked with Fairway, and they're actually on my list of somebody to connect with. I was just out in Iowa, so I did travel all the way out there. It was one of the conversations or corporate Hy-Vee trips that I took, and I got to go actually buy the corporate where Fairway is based out of. So I haven't been able to connect with them yet, but that's definitely, those two places are on my list.
You have From Nebraska, which is owned by James Arthur now downtown, From Nebraska shop.
Nope. And didn't they just do like a renovation or something?
Yeah, they doubled the size of it. Your contact is Barb Ballard.
Bob?
Barb.
Barb.
Barb
Okay.
Ballard, Jim Ballard's wife.
Okay.
She runs the whole facility down there, and they're always looking for Nebraska products to put in there.
Yeah, and that's it's one of my favorite stores to go in and roam around downtown Lincoln too. And I will say that, I mean, I think that buying local is always important, but I really hope that people really take that to heart this season and really truly look at their budget of what they're spending and really make those choices based out of Nebraska made products, because it's just going to be one way that we can obviously help. Another way that I think that we can all help is by helping these people. Ask us all the time, like, what do you need help with, or what are you looking for? And I think just Nebraska businesses in general need as much help as they can marketing right now, like true marketing dollars spent to help market Nebraska made products or Nebraska products. I think we could focus a little bit on that right now, and I think that would help. So, but I will definitely reach out to the Nebraska store too. That will be a good one.
Steve, isn't there a some type of committee that is focusing on marketing Nebraska products? There's one out there already, isn't there?
Well, there's the Grow Nebraska organization, which very much pushes Nebraska products. So that may be what you're thinking of.
Yeah, they do a great job. We work with them quite a bit. They're really pushing us right now to start selling the kombucha online. And again, it's just a time thing for me, not been able to like get that all wrapped up. But yeah, hopefully by the end of this month, we'll be listed on Amazon with them, which is really cool.
Jesse, I had a quick question. I assume since it's tea-based that it is caffeinated?
Yeah, so a lot of the actual caffeine is eaten up during the fermentation process, but it still can have some residual caffeine left over. The black will have a little bit more than the green, but yeah, there's a little bit left, but not even as much as a cup of coffee. Well, a lot less than a cup of coffee. It was actually one of the tests that I've asked the university to look at, but again, COVID kind of just put a wrench in all of that too. But I kind of want to know how much. They've done nutritional panel work for us at the Food and Innovation campus. I also sit on the board of directors for the food processing center at the university, and so that's a very great resource for that type of stuff. But I've asked them to look at like what's left over as far as residual caffeine, and I know there's very little, but I know there's a little. So I just want to have that number.
Yeah. Any other questions for Jesse? If not, what, somebody
Sorry,
out there?
yeah,
Okay.
I was just gonna ask what is your website called again? So I can write it
Yeah,
down.
it's ENSIGN, so Ensign Beverage.com.
Okay.
Any
All right.
other questions? You know, if not, I would, first of all, Jesse, thank you so much for being our speaker today. It's always good to hear from you. You've got a neat, exciting business, and I would urge everybody to spread the word that this year at the holidays, you know, set aside a portion of your holiday spending budget to spend totally locally. So go out
Yep.
and buy a case of kombucha to give to somebody.
Yeah. Have it
sure,
at your holiday parties. I mean,
yes.
a lot of us always are thinking about what kind of alcoholic drinks that we're going to make. I'm on that list of people. But I think we need to be thinking about what non-alcoholic drinks we need to have available too. Just for like people that aren't interested in drinking at that time, but also for kids, because this is safe enough for kids to drink. And I always say that, like, I'm always amazed, like when you really look at what our kids have for choices of things to drink, it's crazy. Like they have really poor choices of things to drink out there that aren't like just jacked full of sugar. You know, even Gatorade, 40 grams of sugar, a Coke, 60 grams of sugar. It's incredible what they're actually putting into their body. So unless they're just drinking water, which is so boring,
I'm sorry.
this can has 2 grams of sugar in it. So 15 calories for the whole
Wow.
can. So that's something to be thinking about. Like it's a good choice.
Or I think Steve had a good idea. I'm going to give you a name for it, Steve. Boar's Head Whiskey.
Boar's Head whiskey. Okay.
Yep.
Well,
and then put it with the ginger kombucha. We don't know if we do
Christmas
this
pack.
a lot. Whiskey and the ginger or whiskey and the apricot, peach
Right on.
apricot. It's nice.
A new version of the Moscow Mule.
Yep.
We use kombucha instead of,
Yeah, we do. And on our website, you'll see there's an area that we have dedicated just to recipes for drinks, either cocktails or mocktails. So we do it a lot. We always have 3 or 4 in our tap room that we have dedicated cocktails that are available, and a mule is one of them.
all right. Any other last questions for Jesse?
Good to
If
see you all. Good to see you, Vaughn. Hi.
And, you know, Jesse mentioned it, they serve her beverages evidently out at the SEC's Course restaurant. Course is open for business. So if you'd like to have a really nice meal some evening,
Incredible.
go out and support Course and all the SEC culinary students. So they produce some incredible food out there, a very popular dining option in Lincoln right now. So Jesse, thank you for that plug. I hope you'll all join us next week for Mackenzie Chapek with Brave Animal Rescue. The week after that, on the 19th, Charlie Cologne with Chick-fil-A. And then we'll take a break for Thanksgiving and start again on the 3rd. So thank you all for joining us. Stay safe out there and cheer the Huskers on to a victory this weekend. So
Right on.
thank you very much and have a good day.
Bye.
Thanks, Dave.
You bet. Thank you, Vaughn.
Yep, thank you for having me.
You bet, Daniel. Join us anytime.